New COVID cases worldwide are down by half since early January. 2.4 million cases were recorded last week compared to over 5 million the week of January 4th. Coronavirus deaths also declining globally. For more on that, I'm now joined in studio by Michel Tirenne. He's the WHO's special representative to Israel. Thank you so much for coming into our studio today. First of all, what do you attribute the lower numbers of infection worldwide to? Is it the efficacy of the vaccines and how they're being rolled out globally? Or is the virus perhaps also slowing down?
There are many factors probably at play, but really the one that merits the highlight is the efficacy of the measures, as you said. You see in the streets, look at a year ago, no one had a mask. Today, everyone has a mask. A lot of people have a mask. That has been proved that the wearing of masks, the distancing, this behavior that people have adopted is a major contributor to this. I believe that there is also a coming up seasonality factor, although that is still yet to prove, but we have observed that, for example, in the South Hemisphere, it's pretty quiet at the moment. We are heading for the spring, so I guess there will be also a seasonal factor, not necessarily because of the temperature, but because of the behavior of people in seasonal time. So in winter, although maybe not too much in Israel, but in Europe, winter, people are packed indoor at home. So there are some factors like that too. So I would say there is a multiple set of factors, but the dominant one is people are just careful for themselves and for the others.
Okay. And you're here in Israel, among other things, to observe this little experiment, I believe, that we're having in Israel. Quite a large, significant number of the population here has been vaccinated already. I'm one of those who carry this green passport, so to say, but it's only valid for 6 months. So are we entering a reality in which we will need to get revaccinated every 6 months? What do you at the WHO envision for our future?
We don't know if there will be a recurrent every 6 months immunization. I don't think so. The reason why we say 6 months is that we didn't have materially the time to measure long-term efficacy of those vaccines. Those were emergency cleared vaccines. That doesn't mean they are bad vaccines, but that means that we deal with the safety, the optimal safety and efficacy data we had for the lapse of time we had. I mean, this vaccine didn't even exist a year ago or a year and a half ago. So as we keep progressing in immunizing populations, we still accumulate data and to see how long this immunization will stay. If we would give to people a 2 years probation for considering 2 years of immunization and protection, that would not be fair, because we don't know actually how the immunity will sustain.
Okay. More than 4 million Israelis have already received the first shot. More than 3.2 million have already received the second shot of the vaccine. What do you think, as an observer from the WHO, that Israel is doing right? And what do you think it needs to do better in order to really contain the spreading of COVID-19 here?
Well, some countries are on the front runners. Israel is a front runner, basically. There is no other country on the planet that has achieved that level of immunity. So there is an immense amount of learnings from this. Operational, the way people react, the way the immunity the population immunity is settling down. We can confirm in real life the efficacy of the vaccine. There's a lot of data that are coming out of this. So no, it's not an experiment. It's really something that Israel has done to get the population protected. And Israel, in addition, is now sharing vaccines outside as much as possible. We know how difficult it is to share vaccines when those vaccines are also bound by contractual agreement with a producer. But there is this threshold now of learning, and the threshold by which Israel will start sharing vaccines, and we saw a lot of vaccines have been already shared with or cleared for the Palestinian territories. So there is this learning experience that is very precious to WHO. So yes, Israel is doing great. The government is really engaged for the people to be protected. People are going to get their vaccines, and I think the numbers are showing now.
Do you think that Israel is doing great also when you see the funerals or weddings of ultra-Orthodox
I'm talking about vaccines.
Jews with thousands of people agglomerating with no masks? What do you think the country or the state needs to do in order to control those?
My reply was about the vaccination. So it's an amazing achievement. I think that vaccination is not replacing or canceling or excluding the other measures. Not yet. We have better numbers globally. But yesterday we had 335,000 cases and 7,500 deaths in a day in the world. That's no time for celebration. That's time for concern still. So the fact that we reach that high level of vaccination should not trigger necessarily relaxing behavior among the population.
So what do you think when you see these images?
Well, I think I haven't seen all those images, but I go in the street. I think that we cannot assume that we are fully protected because of the high coverage. The high coverage is an enormous achievement. You still have a high number of cases every day in Israel, even if those numbers have dropped to the benefit of the engagement of the government on this. But it's no time yet for celebration, really. It's still time for concern for the neighbors, for some of the vulnerable people that haven't been covered. Some people are scared to engage with the vaccine, so they are not protected. So it's still risk, and I think it's a bit too early to declare victory. But what an achievement, yes.